Hey, Yolanda Postel here. Welcome back to my channel. My last video was all about the place of in between, where you are not where you used to be, but you're not quite where you want to be. Something that you've been praying for, you're asking God to let it come to pass. Maybe you're praying for your spouse, your children, a loved one, a situation, but you haven't quite received the promise. You see some movement, things are not quite where they used to be, but at the same time, the fulfillment of the prayer of the promise has not come to pass. So it's all about being grateful, being thankful. However, sometimes God will test you in that place of in between. And how are you going to handle the instructions of God? Are you going to be obedient, or are you going to try to do things your own way and create your own solution to the problem? That, my dear, will only delay things more. Going back to the book of Exodus in chapter 16, the people were hungry, and so God sent manna from heaven, and he gave Moses some instructions to give to the people. And here's what Exodus 16:4 says. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day, that I may test them whether they will walk in my way or not." And I think often when we hear the story of Moses and the children of Israel getting manna from heaven, that we skip over that was a test. He gave them instructions that they should only gather the manna for 6 days. On the seventh day, they were not to go out and gather manna. On that sixth day, they were supposed to gather enough to last them through the Sabbath. However, if you skip ahead in the chapter, what happened? They didn't listen. They didn't listen. And they went out on the seventh day looking for food, trying to gather more manna, being deliberately disobedient to the instructions God had given Moses to relay to them. And so during this place of in between that you're in, what are the instructions that God has given to you? What has the Holy Spirit been speaking to you? Have you been obedient to the instructions? Or have you just been insistent on doing things your own way? One thing I've learned is when I put my hands in something and I try to be Miss Fix-It, let me tell you, I mess it all up. Not only do I mess it all up, I just delay everything even more. So I would like to encourage you today to follow the instructions that God has given you. Anything he is telling you to do, it is only for your good. And sometimes he just wants to know, are you going to be obedient? Are you going to listen to what I've told you to do? Are you going to trust me when things don't look right? Are you going to trust me? Because that test of manna, you think about it, they didn't have any go-to food source. So for them, their fear, because it was probably fear talking to them. I don't know. It's not written in the word. I'm just saying what people probably would do in certain situations. They were probably thinking, oh man, if I don't gather this, I'm not going to have enough. I know what God said, but I don't think that's right. And I think I need to do extra because I just don't think that what God and Moses is telling us is correct. So it's lack of faith in what God is telling you to do. It's lack of faith that God will fulfill his word. It's showing that there's lack of trust in God. So, if you are in that place of in between, remember, pass the test. Because what happens when you go to school and you have a test and you don't pass it and it's required to graduate and go on to the next level? Guess what? You got to take that test all over again. So, trust God. When he gives you instructions through his Holy Spirit, trust him. Trust that he knows the end from the beginning. Trust that he will lead and guide you in the direction that you will go. Trust that he knows what's best for you. Trust that the outcome will be something that you can celebrate. So, when you get that test, in the place of in between, the test of obedience, trust, believe, walk in faith, do what God has instructed you to do, and watch the fruit of the obedience that you have. Watch God move in your life. Just trust him. Just trust him. Well, that's really it. That's all I had to say. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you can receive updates on new content. And